The sun rose slowly over the horizon, casting a warm golden light across the dusty trails of the Old West. The small town of Dry Gulch lay nestled between rolling hills, its wooden buildings standing proudly against the backdrop of vast, untamed wilderness. A gentle breeze stirred up particles of dirt, swirling them around like whispers of forgotten tales. Saloons filled with laughter and the clinking of glasses lined the main street, but not all sounds were joyful. Rumors danced through the air like shadows. Townsfolk gathered in small groups, exchanging stories about a notorious outlaw gang that had been causing trouble in the area. With every passing day, anxiety grew as people spoke in hushed tones about the gang's latest crimes, robberies and disappearances that sent chills through their bones. Parents kept their children closer and shopkeepers locked their doors earlier each night. As Jake, a rugged ranch hand with a heart full of courage, rode into town on his sturdy horse, he could feel the tension hanging thick in the air. He tipped his hat to passers-by but noticed how they quickly glanced away, avoiding his eyes. It was another day of hard work ahead for him at the ranch, yet he couldn't shake off the feeling that something was amiss. The town's dusty streets felt alive with unease as Jake dismounted near the saloon. He caught snippets of conversations about recent sightings of the gang at dawn and their search for someone important, a girl who had vanished from sight. Little did he know, this would soon lead him down a path where bravery and danger awaited him at every turn. Jake had always been a man of the land. With his weathered hands and sun-bronzed skin, he embodied the spirit of the Old West. He worked tirelessly on the ranch owned by Old Man Thompson, who often praised Jake's skill with horses and cattle. While Jake was strong and skilled as a ranch hand, it was his moral compass that truly set him apart. He believed in doing what was right, even when it was hard. Each morning, before the sun peeked over the hills, Jake would saddle up his loyal horse, Buck, ready to face whatever the day might bring. He took pride in helping others whenever he could, whether that meant mending fences for neighbors or lending a hand to anyone in need. Folks around Dry Gulch admired his courage and kindness, often sharing tales about how Jake once single-handedly chased off a band of rustlers who tried to steal from a nearby farm. As he entered the bustling saloon that morning, he could sense unease behind the cheerful facade. Women whispered among themselves, and men glanced nervously around the room. Jake's heart swelled with determination, he couldn't ignore the impending danger. He knew he had to learn more about the gang threatening their town and the missing girl they spoke of in hushed tones. With each moment that passed, Jake felt an unshakable urge to step up and protect his community. In the face of uncertainty, he resolved to be the one who brought hope back to Dry Gulch. Little did he know that fate was already setting the stage for his greatest challenge yet. With the sun climbing higher in the sky, Jake decided to take a ride away from town to clear his mind. He nudged Buck into a steady trot along a narrow trail that wound through the tall grass and wildflowers. The peaceful surroundings helped him shake off the tension he had felt earlier that morning. However, as he ventured deeper into the wilderness, a strange sound caught his attention, a frantic yelling that echoed through the otherwise serene landscape. Curiosity piqued, Jake leaned forward in his saddle, urging Buck faster toward the commotion. As they approached a small clearing, he spotted a sight that made his heart race. A young saloon girl named Lila was trapped in quicksand, her pretty dress soiled and her face twisted in fear. She struggled with every ounce of strength she had, but each movement only drew her deeper into the dreadful muck. "Help! Please!" Lila cried out, panic evident in her wide eyes. Jake's instincts kicked into high gear. He couldn't just sit back and watch her suffer. Without hesitation, he jumped off Buck and rushed to her side. The quicksand gleamed ominously under the afternoon sun, threatening to pull her down completely. "It's okay. I'm here," he shouted to reassure her as he reached for her hand. Lila's fingers trembled as they grasped at him, desperation hanging in the air. "Hold on tight," Jake instructed, trying to remain calm despite his own racing heart. The two of them were now caught in a battle against time and gravity, each second feeling like an eternity as he prepared to save her from this terrible fate. Jake's heart raced as he knelt beside Lila, her terrified eyes pleading for help. He quickly assessed the situation, he needed a plan. Just hold on. I'll get you out, he assured her, even though his own hands trembled with urgency. He reached for his rope, which was coiled securely at his side, a trusted tool that had saved him many times before. With quick, practiced movements, Jake unraveled the rope and fashioned a loop at the end. I'm going to throw this to you, he explained, trying to keep her calm. Wrap it around your waist and hold on tight. Lila nodded, her fear mixing with hope as she prepared for his rescue. Taking a deep breath, Jake aimed carefully and tossed the loop toward her. It landed just in front of her, and she managed to grab it despite the muck that clung to her. Now tie it around yourself. I'll pull you up. Jake called out, his voice steady even as he felt the weight of responsibility. As Lila secured the rope around herself, Jake anchored his feet into the ground and began to pull with all his might. Lila's body emerged slowly from the quicksand, inch by inch. The moments felt eternal as he dug in with determination. Finally, with one last hard tug, Lila was freed from the grasp of the quicksand. She fell into his arms, gasping for breath but safe at last. Relief washed over Jake as he held her tightly, their adrenaline-filled hearts beating in unison. You did it, she exclaimed through tears of gratitude. In that moment, they both knew they had narrowly escaped a terrifying fate together. As Jake held Lila in his arms, her body shaking from the adrenaline and fear, she looked up at him, gratitude shining in her eyes. Thank you, she breathed, her voice barely above a whisper. I thought I was done for. Jake could see the relief wash over her, but he also noticed the sadness that lingered behind her smile. Sitting on a nearby rock to catch her breath, Lila began to share her story. I didn't always work at the saloon, she explained, brushing mud from her dress. I came to Dry Gulch looking for a fresh start after running away from home. But instead of freedom, I found myself trapped in a life I never wanted. Her eyes clouded with unshed tears as she recounted how quickly things had spiraled out of control. I wanted to leave it all behind, she continued, her voice trembling slightly. But when I tried to escape last night, I lost my way and ended up here. Lila looked away, guilt and frustration evident on her face. I thought I'd finally found a way out, but instead, I nearly lost everything. Jake listened intently, feeling a mix of sympathy and admiration for her bravery. He understood now that Lila's struggle wasn't just physical, it was deeply emotional too. You're stronger than you think, he assured her gently. You can still find your way. Lila met his gaze, hope flickering in her eyes once more as they shared an unspoken bond, two souls yearning for freedom in a world that sought to hold them back. As the sun began to rise, its soft golden light spilled across the landscape, illuminating the world around Jake and Lila. The warmth of dawn brought a sense of calm after their harrowing experience, and for a brief moment, they both felt safe in the tranquil beauty of the morning. Lila's face was now lit with hope as she shared her dreams of leaving Dry Gulch once and for all and finding a life where she could be free and happy. However, their peaceful moment was suddenly shattered by the sound of distant hooves pounding against the hard ground. Jake's heart sank as he recognized the unmistakable rhythm. It was a group of horses approaching fast. He turned to Lila, his expression turning serious. We need to hide, he urged, his voice urgent. Before Lila could respond, they both ducked behind a cluster of bushes just as shadows on horseback raced into view. Jake's breath quickened as he peered through the leaves, spotting several members from the notorious outlaw gang they had heard about in town. Their rugged faces were set with determination as they scouted the area, likely searching for Lila. Jake felt a chill run down his spine at the thought of her being captured again. They must be looking for you, he whispered to Lila, who trembled beside him. The fear in her eyes had returned, but now there was also a flicker of resolve. Together, they would have to come up with a plan, one that would allow them both to escape before it was too late. Jake's heart raced as he peered through the bushes, watching the outlaws ride closer. The tension in the air was palpable, every distant sound felt amplified, like the pounding of his own pulse. He could see their rough faces and hear snippets of their conversation, filled with crude laughter and accusations about where Lila might be hiding. The realization struck him hard. These men were not just searching for a girl, they were determined to reclaim her, and Jake knew they would stop at nothing to do so. Beside him, Lila's face had gone pale, her eyes wide with fear as she clutched at her dress. The memories of being trapped in quicksand were nothing compared to the terror of being caught by the gang that had once held her prisoner. "Jake," she whispered, her voice trembling, "what if they find me? I can't go back to that life." Seeing her panic ignited a fierce determination within Jake. He knew he couldn't let anything happen to her, not after everything they'd been through together. "They won't find you," he said firmly, trying to convey confidence even though anxiety churned in his stomach. "I'll protect you." As the outlaws dismounted and began combing the area, Jake's thoughts raced. They needed a plan, one that would ensure Lila's safety and give them both a fighting chance. His mind whirred with ideas as she leaned closer to him for reassurance. "Whatever happens, I won't let them take you," he vowed softly, feeling a bond of trust strengthen between them in their shared moment of vulnerability and resolve. Jake's mind raced as he scanned their surroundings, searching for a way to keep Lila hidden while he confronted the gang. The bushes provided some cover, but he knew they wouldn't be enough if the outlaws chose to search thoroughly. "We have to move," he whispered urgently. "There's a small cave just a little further up the hill. If we can get there, you'll be safe." Lila nodded, her eyes reflecting both fear and trust in Jake. They had only just met, yet she felt a bond forming between them, a shared determination to survive. "Let's go," she replied, her voice steadier now. As they quietly made their way toward the cave, Jake kept an ear tuned to the movements of the outlaws. He could hear their laughter growing closer, and with each step, tension coiled tighter in his chest. "Once we're inside," he instructed, "stay low and quiet. I'll distract them. Just wait for me." Once they reached the cave, Jake quickly pushed Lila inside and crouched beside her. "Remember," he said softly, "I'll come back for you. Trust me." She met his gaze with fierce determination, knowing this was their only chance. With a final nod of encouragement from Lila, Jake took a deep breath and stepped out of the cave into the open air. He positioned himself behind a nearby rock formation, ready to confront the gang head-on while keeping Lila safe and hidden just a few feet away. His heart thudded in his chest as he prepared to face whatever came next, knowing that together they could overcome anything if they stayed united in their fight for freedom. The dawn illuminated the rocky outcrop where Jake stood, heart pounding as the sound of hooves grew louder. Through the haze of morning light, he spotted the outlaw gang riding in, their faces set with determination. As they approached, the leader, a burly man named Hank, scowled and called out, "Lila. We know you're out here. You can't hide from us." Jake stepped forward, determination coursing through him. "She's not going back with you," he shouted, his voice echoing through the quiet air. The gang halted, eyes narrowing at his boldness. "Oh really?" Hank sneered, dismounting his horse with an air of menace. "And just who are you to stand in our way? She's ours." He gestured wildly as if claiming territory, his hands ready to draw weapons. "She's more than just a prize to be won," Jake replied, trying to suppress his rising anger. "You don't understand what she's been through. She deserves freedom." Another gang member laughed harshly. "Freedom? That girl belongs to us because she owes us. It's simple business, ranch hand. Step aside if you don't want trouble." Jake felt a surge of protectiveness for Lila. "Not a chance," he declared firmly. "I'll fight for her." As tension crackled between them like a live wire, Lila watched from the mouth of the cave, her heart racing as she took in the scene unfolding before her. Jake stood resolute against the gang, embodying hope and courage in her darkest hour. The moment hung in the balance, each heartbeat echoing their shared resolve. This would not be the end of her fight for freedom. Jake stood firm, sweat trickling down his brow as he faced Hank and the gang. "You'll have to go through me first if you want her," he shouted, his voice rising above the tension. The outlaws exchanged glances, and Hank smirked, drawing a gun from his holster. "You're making a mistake, ranch hand." Without warning, Hank fired a shot into the air. The loud crack echoed through the quiet morning, startling birds into flight. Jake flinched but remained resolute. He knew he had to act fast, keeping Lila safe depended on his next move. With agility, he ducked behind a large rock, narrowly avoiding another shot. As the outlaws advanced, Jake's mind raced for a clever strategy. He spotted a loose boulder nearby and seized the opportunity. With all his strength, he pushed it down the slope toward the gang. The rock tumbled down with a thunderous crash, scattering dust and stones everywhere. The outlaws instinctively ducked for cover, momentarily thrown off their game. "Lila, now!" Jake yelled from behind the rock. He watched as she peeked out of the cave. Fear still lingered in her eyes but had been replaced by determination. She dashed for safety while Jake engaged the gang, hoping to buy her enough time. Hank fumed and rallied his men. "Get him!" But just as they lunged toward Jake, he spotted an opening, a narrow path leading away from the confrontation. Using every ounce of bravery left within him, he charged forward, willing to fight for Lila's freedom, knowing that this was their chance for escape amid the chaos of bullets and shouts that filled the air around them. With Lila safely out of harm's way, Jake felt a surge of adrenaline wash over him as he faced the gang alone. The outlaws, momentarily disoriented by the boulder, were regaining their composure, and Jake knew he had to act quickly. He sprinted toward a narrow path that led into the thick brush, hoping to lure them away from Lila's hiding place. "Hey! Over here!" Jake shouted, waving his arms to draw their attention. Hank glared at him, and the gang transformed into a pack of wolves, eager to chase down their target. As they charged after him, Jake led them deeper into the underbrush, weaving through trees and rocks, using his knowledge of the land to stay one step ahead. Suddenly, he spotted an old trapper's pit covered with leaves, a relic from days past that had been forgotten. Thinking quickly, Jake diverted his path, pretending to stumble while shouting for help. As expected, the gang rushed forward, eager to capture him. With perfect timing, Jake leaped aside and pointed at the pit just as Hank and two others barreled through the foliage. They stumbled over the edge and fell into the pit with startled yells. Jake turned to face the remaining outlaws, who hesitated at the sight of their leader trapped. "This is your last chance. Leave now and don't come back," he warned, his voice steady with authority. Realizing their leader was incapacitated, the remaining outlaws exchanged worried glances before retreating. As they galloped away, Jake let out a sigh of relief. He turned back towards the cave where Lila waited. Together, they had faced the danger and secured her freedom, stronger than ever before in their resolve to start anew. As the dust settled and the echoes of hooves faded into the distance, Jake turned to Lila, who stepped out cautiously from her hiding place. The sunlight bathed them both in warmth, illuminating their faces, which were now etched with relief and newfound freedom. They had survived the ordeal together, and as they stood side by side, an unspoken understanding passed between them. "I can't believe it's finally over," Lila said quietly, her voice filled with wonder as she looked around. "I never thought I'd escape." Jake met her gaze, feeling a wave of pride surge within him. "You're free now, Lila. And you deserve every bit of that freedom." The intensity of their experiences had forged a bond between them that would forever change their lives. In that moment, both felt a sense of hope rising from the ashes of fear. Their paths had crossed in a world full of danger and uncertainty, but now they stood at the brink of new beginnings. "What will you do now?" Jake asked gently. Lila took a deep breath, envisioning a future without chains or fears. "I want to start fresh, maybe even help others who feel trapped like I did." Jake nodded in agreement, inspired by her resilience. "Then let's find a way to do it together." As they made their way back toward Dry Gulch, hearts buoyed with optimism and courage, they knew that this adventure had not just secured Lila's freedom, it had also awakened something within Jake, a dedication to protect those in need. Together, they would face whatever came next, ready to embrace life anew and forge their destinies unbound by the past.